Hello and welcome to Sports 360, your one-stop destination for all big sporting events across the globe. Here you will get a 360-degree analysis, perspective and information. Never before in Indian cricket history have so many debutants made such an impact in a short period of time and collectively produced one great performance after other in tough situations and circumstances. In this edition of Sports 360, we will take a look at the spectacular show of the Indian debutants. The coin toss hardly went India's way during England's 2-month-long tour of India, but Virat Kohli's Cavaliers ensured home side walked away with a clean sweep of series wins across the three formats. A look at some of the gains and pains from the ODI series. In FIFA World Cup qualifiers, Belgium national team produced their most promising performance of the international break against Belarus. Meanwhile, Germany lost World Cup qualifying game for the first time in 20 years. The 2021 Formula One season began with a bang at the Bahrain Grand Prix and teased the prospect of an epic season-long title chase. And apart from this, we also have our regular segments: Goal of the Week, Player of the Week, Team of the Week and the Sporting Moments of the Week. But first up, the cover story we are tracking this week. The last 4 months have been very special for the Indian men's cricket team. They won a historic series against all odds in Australia and then came back to beat spirited England in the home series in February before overhauling them in the T20 series. But what stood out both down under and against England was the number of stars India unearthed in the last 120 days. Never before in Indian cricket history have so many debutants made such an impact in such a short period of time and collectively produced one great performance after other in tough situations and circumstances.
Mohammad Siraj. Siraj picked 5 wickets in his test debut at the MCG. Filling in for India's strike bowler Mohammad Shami, and after the horror of 36 all-out in Adelaide, Siraj dismissed Manus Labuschagne and Cameron Green in the first innings before again getting Green along with Travis Head and Nathan Lyon in the second. He then returned with a fifer in the second innings of the series decider at the Gabba, including the wickets of Stephen Smith and Labuschagne. Siraj bowled with heart, pace and accuracy and was India's lead bowler in the absence of the quartet in Brisbane. He ended the series as the highest wicket taker for India, a remarkable effort for a debutant against a full-strength Australian side in their own backyard. Siraj again put his hands up and delivered in the big fourth test against England in Ahmedabad. Replacing Jasprit Bumrah, he got the massive wickets of Joe Root and Johnny Bairstow early in England's first innings to give the visitors a double jolt. Shubman Gill. He made his test debut along with Siraj at the MCG and scored a sublime 45 of 65 deliveries in the first innings. He gave India the impetus at the start of the innings against the world-class trio of Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood and Pat Cummins, but provided the stand-in captain Ajinkya Rahane the platform to come out and produce that majestic match-winning 100. Gill's timing and shot-making stood out in the second innings too, as he remained unbeaten on 35 of 36 deliveries. Gill then top-scored for India in the crucial third test at the SCG with 50 of 101 deliveries in the second innings. His 70-run opening wicket stand with Rohit Sharma was the highest first-wicket partnership for India in SENA countries in the last 15 innings. He again combined with Rohit and the pair put together 71 for the first wicket in the second innings, but the right-hander had reserved his best for the last. He scored a sublime 91 of 146 deliveries, giving India the platform in their record chase of 328 at the Gabba. He was not fazed or intimidated and did not show any nerves even after the early fall of Rohit, and partnered with Cheteshwar Pujara to put together a match-defining century stand for India in the fourth innings. Gill then registered a 50 in the second innings of the series opener against England in Chennai. Navdeep Saini. Navdeep Saini made his debut in Sydney and returned with 4 wickets in the match. These included 2 top middle-order wickets. Saini got the wickets of Labuschagne and Wade in successive overs, which halted Australia's charge, which in turn meant that they consumed more overs in their second innings. Washington Sundar and T. Natarajan. The Gabba Test also saw the emergence of 2 other great finds for India in Test cricket, Washington Sundar and T. Natarajan. Sundar produced a match-defining 62 in a match-changing stand with Shardul Thakur, again when the top and middle order had failed in the series decider on Test debut. against one of the best bowling attacks in the world in their own backyard. That requires skill, courage, temperament and buckets full of guts. He also produced a masterclass unbeaten 85 in the first innings of the series opener in Chennai, and then a match-changing and series-defining 96 in the final test in Ahmedabad, where he combined with Rishabh Pant and then Akshar Patel to produce two back-to-back 100 partnerships for India. Natarajan picked 3 wickets in his first outing for India, including the big ones of Wade and Labuschagne at a critical juncture in the match. Ishan Kishan and Surya Kumar. The India-England T20 series saw the rise of 2 other debutants, Ishan Kishan and Surya Kumar Yadav. Kishan produced a match-winning 56 of just 32 deliveries on debut in the second match of the series, laying the platform for a successful Indian chase. Surya Kumar Yadav hammered 2 defining knocks in his first 2 outings with the bat for India. He scored 57 of 31 deliveries even as the big guns failed around him, paving the way for a big total by the home team, which ultimately gave India a series-leveling 8-run victory. Yadav then smashed a defining cameo 32 of 17 deliveries in the decider, building on the momentum provided by Rohit Sharma and helping skipper Virat Kohli anchor the innings. Prasidh Krishna and Krunal Pandya. A change in format from tests and T20s to the ODIs, but India kept unearthing the stars. It had almost become a habit by now. Prasidh Krishna returned with the best bowling figures by an Indian bowler on ODI debut, as he bagged 4 for 54 in the opener against England in Pune. The match also saw the elder of the Pandyas, Krunal, representing the country for the first time in the 50-over format, hammer a match-defining 58 of just 31 deliveries, batting at number 7 for India. Clean striking and the range and swing of his shot-making were the striking features of his debut innings in the format. It has been a rare 4 months for India across formats. One after the other, the team has unearthed one gem after the other, who without any fear or nerves have come out and expressed themselves and produced stunning performances in their debut matches against 2 of the best opposition attacks in the world. To combine and collectively and consistently produce such high-impact performances in successive matches and series requires phenomenal ability and talent and a unique sense of bonhomie and camaraderie in the dressing room. It also shows a robust, solid domestic setup in the country which throws up such talent one after the other. This is indeed a very special time for Indian cricket. Sports Desk, DD India.
The 3-match ODI contest, which concluded with a nail-biting 7-run victory for India, signified first of many preparatory steps towards the 2023 ICC World Cup. India lost 10 of the 12 tosses across the 3 formats, but Kohli's Cavaliers completed a clean sweep, winning the Test, T20 and ODI series against England, played over the last 2 months.
The 3-match ODI series that concluded with a nail-biting 7-run win for India in a way sounded off the first of many preparatory steps ahead of the 2023 World Cup, which will be played on Indian soil. Here's a look at some of India's gains and pains from the ODI series. Bhuvneshwar back, Shardul continues to attack. After an injury hiatus kept him out of action for a year, Bhuvneshwar Kumar returned to India's limited overs setup last month, having gained in confidence during the 5 T20 internationals that preceded the ODIs. The pace bowler was back to his miserly best. His economy rate of 4.65 in 29 overs was the best of the series on the flat tracks laid out at the Maharashtra Cricket Association Stadium in Pune. Add his 6 wickets to the mix and Bhuvneshwar seems likely to regain his place in the squad even when Jasprit Bumrah returns to the fold. On the other hand, Shardul Thakur seems to have all but cemented his place in the side as a third pacer and a useful number 8 batsman. His economy rate is high, but he compensates with his wicket-taking abilities as seen in the 3rd ODI, where he was brought into the attack in the 14th over and cleaned up England's middle order in no time. Pant and Hardik's license to kill. Hardik and Pant took the attack to the English bowlers. Thanks to a middle order that has been far from reliable over the last 5 years, India's top 3 have been forced to adopt a conventional approach to building an innings and unleashing themselves only towards the end. But with KL Rahul regaining his mojo and the fearsome duo of Rishabh Pant and Hardik Pandya back to their best, India seems set to follow in England's footsteps in adopting a fearless approach right through the innings. Both Pant and Hardik displayed, especially in the third ODI, a methodical madness, one manufacturing strokes, the other using raw power to clear the field that not only wears the opposition down but also frees up Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan at the top. End of Kuldeep Chahal duo. When India fielded 5 pacers and a solitary spinner in Krunal Pandya in the decider, it was the first instance of India's ODI 11 featuring neither Kuldeep Yadav nor Yuzvendra Chahal since the 2017 Champions Trophy. While Chahal was benched for all 3 ODIs, Kuldeep appeared to have lost his zip and turn in the first 2. The Chinaman's mishandling over the last 2 years seems to have affected his confidence, and it will be surprising if he remains in contention for the stiffer tests in the near future. Kuldeep Yadav failed to make an impact against England across formats. As a result, India will be desperate to see Ravindra Jadeja return from his injury break to pair with Chahal. With R. Ashwin sidelined for the shorter formats and without Jadeja and Chahal, India's spin department seems to be vacant. Sports Desk, DD India.
Now it's time for History segment this week that years. 10 years have passed and the memory of India lifting the ICC World Cup title in 2011 still feels fresh as morning. Powered by the knocks of Gautam Gambhir and MS Dhoni, India defeated Sri Lanka by 6 wickets to lift the second World Cup trophy this week in 2011. The winning 6 struck by MS Dhoni is still viewed as the most iconic and exciting moments in India's sporting history. Now shifting focus to Formula One. The Formula One 2021 season got off to a thrilling start with an epic season-opening Bahrain Grand Prix that went down to the wire. Here are the 5 things we learned from the 2021 opening Bahrain Grand Prix. If the Bahrain GP is anything to go by, then Formula One fans are in for a treat this season. In what was a nail-biting finish to the weekend, Lewis Hamilton fended off the charging Red Bull of Max Verstappen to win the Bahrain GP and take an early lead in the championship standings. Here are 5 key talking points from the Bahrain GP. Hamilton and Mercedes are the team to beat. Mercedes were able to pull through after being dominated throughout the Bahrain GP weekend. Mercedes team had a slower car and suffered a resounding defeat in qualifying. Red Bull's Challenger looked faster than the Mercedes in every session of the Bahrain GP. Coupled with arguably the fastest driver on the grid in Max Verstappen, this race was Red Bull's to lose. However, Hamilton stuffed Verstappen's advances in the dying stages of the Bahrain GP to eventually take the checkered flag and win the 95th Grand Prix of his stellar career. His masterclass showed why Lewis Hamilton is considered one of the greatest ever to race in the series. Red Bull and Verstappen will learn from this. Red Bull had the fastest car on the grid but lacked the experience to fight Mercedes at the top of the grid. Red Bull hasn't seriously competed for a championship since 2013 and the rust showed in the opening race of the season. Red Bull has the pedigree to compete for championships. The team won 4 consecutive titles between 2010 and 2013. However, they did not face an opponent of Mercedes caliber. Red Bull has the car required to mount a fierce championship challenge, but the team needs to improve on the operational side. Hopefully, Red Bull and Max Verstappen will take the Bahrain GP weekend as a learning experience and come back stronger at the next race. Midfield battles will steal the show every race. Formula One is in a great place right now. There is a close competitive battle at the front for the championship. However, an even more intriguing battle lurks in the midfield. AlphaTauri, McLaren, Ferrari, Aston Martin and Alpine are matched on pace. In all likelihood, the teams are going to fight it out amongst themselves for the honours of the best of the rest in every race. Vettel had a Bahrain Grand Prix to forget. It was a listless performance for the four-time world champion as the Germans did not look to challenge for points at any point of the Bahrain GP. The German stature in the sport will suggest that this is one-off performance and hopefully he can put together a competitive weekend at Imola in 3 weeks. F1 season is delivering on its promises. The inaugural race of the 2021 season delivered on every promise it made. And if this is how close teams in the midfield are, then Formula 1 fans could be in store for the best season in the sport's history. The Bahrain Grand Prix launched the Formula 1 season in the best way possible. Fans will hope that the remaining 22 races can bring similar levels of excitement. Sports Desk, DD India. Now shifting focus from Formula 1 track to football field, the first wave of the 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers are now over in the UEFA zone, and there were a number of surprise results and many heavyweights have struggled over their opening 2 or 3 matches. Here we take a look at who has seen their stocks rise or fall and even plummet past fortnight.
Portugal came from behind to beat Luxembourg 3-1 away and make it 7 points from a possible 9 in Group A. Gerson Rodriguez, who was immense from the outset, scored a magnificent diving header to stun a team 93 places above Luxembourg on the FIFA World Ranking. However, close-range goals from Diogo Jota and Cristiano Ronaldo, either side of the break, swung the game in Portugal's favour before substitute João Palhinha sealed victory. Three first-time international scorers helped Belgium cruise past Belarus to go at the top of Group E. Jeremy Doku slid in Michy Batshuayi, who crashed in a shot at the near post for the opener. Hans van Aken doubled the Red Devils' lead moments later with his first international goal, and then Leandro Trossard opened his account with the goal of the evening, a thunderbolt from 25 yards. Doku got his name on the score sheet before half-time when Dennis Praet found him with a perfectly timed through ball, and the 18-year-old did the rest, finishing like a seasoned veteran. Dennis Praet continued the theme less than 5 minutes into the second half by grabbing his first international goal, driving in a long-range strike. Christian Benteke came off the bench to make it 6, guiding in Tobias Alderweireld's early cross. Trossard and Van Aken both doubled their personal tallies on a night that Alexander Guthor will want to forget in a hurry. Spain leapfrogged Sweden to go at the top of Group B. Spain's stoppage time hero from their 2-1 win over Georgia, Dani Olmo, opened the scoring and found the top corner with a beautiful curled shot. Ferran Torres had Spain up by 2 just a minute later with a laser-accurate, low and driven finish that kissed the post before going in. Besser Halimi gave La Roja a real scare when he scored a bizarre goal, stripping Unai Simon of the ball nearly at the halfway line and scoring from well over 40 yards. However, the in-form Villarreal striker Gerard Moreno restored Luis Enrique's side's 2-goal cushion 15 minutes from time with a near-post header from a corner kick. Harry Maguire's late strike snatched England a 2-1 win over Poland at Wembley that moved them on to 9 points from 3 games. Harry Kane assuredly scored a penalty earned by Raheem Sterling to give the 1966 world champions a 19th minute lead, but after a mistake by John Stones just before the hour, Jakub Moder levelled with a fierce finish from close range. Stones made amends from a late corner, heading the ball back to Maguire, whose strike through a crowd proved too powerful for W. Shizenzi to keep out. North Macedonia produced the biggest upset of Europeans' Qatar 2022 qualifiers, thus far with a famous win away to Germany. Joran Pandev finished off a delightful team move to stun the Brazil 2014 winners just before the break, but Ilkay Gundogan's penalty restored parity in the 63rd minute. After Timo Werner had missed a golden chance to put Germany ahead, Elgif Elmas pounced to seize North Macedonia, one of their best ever results. Sports Desk, DD India.
Now it's time for the goal of the week. Antoine Griezmann scored a stunning header in their World Cup qualifier match against Bosnia-Herzegovina, and it helped France to top Group D with 7 points from 3 games. And this is Sports 360 Goal of the Week. Top-ranked Belgium slammed 8 goals against Belarus in their FIFA World Cup qualifier match. It lifted Belgium to 7 points from 3 games in Group E, and Red Devils are Sports 360 Team of the Week. Baseball is back in New York, and it was the opening day at the Yankees Stadium, and fans returned to the stand for the first time since 2019. Before the pandemic, the team is allowed a maximum capacity of 20% or 10,000 fans who sit in pods of mostly 2 or 4 people separated by 6 feet. Fans returned to Yankee Stadium in New York City after in-person attendance scrapped last year because of the pandemic. It was opening day for the New York Yankees baseball team, and the stadium opened to 20% capacity. Before entering the stadium, fans were required to show a negative COVID-19 test or full vaccination and have their temperature taken. Fans were also required to wear masks inside. Despite the drizzly weather outside, fans said they were excited to return after a year of watching the baseball games on television.
We're so glad to be back, ready to brave the elements. Regardless, we were coming no matter what, rain, sleet, snow, wind, whatever. Looking forward to get back in the stadium and seeing our Yankees, man.
I'm so excited. I'm actually in a teaching master's program, and one of the things I promised myself if I got in was to go to a Yankees game.
The Yankees are chasing their 28th World Series championship. It was the first time since October 2019 that fans were allowed back inside the ballpark. The Yankees said the first 11 games of the season will have limited capacity, which they hope to expand in May if the health conditions improve. Julie Rosen said she felt safe at the stadium. About 10,000 fans will watch from inside Yankee Stadium as New York takes on Toronto Blue Jays. Sports Desk, DD India. The Stade de France, one of the key venues for the Paris 2024 Olympics and Paralympic Games, will become a major COVID-19 vaccination center. The National Stadium is due to host the matches during the 2023 Rugby World Cup in France, as well as staging the opening and closing ceremonies of the Paris 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Games.
The French stadium that hosted World Cup finals in soccer and rugby is taking on a new role in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. It is preparing to become a vaccination center. Workers at the Stade de France venue were putting up tents for the use as vaccination cubicles inside a hall in balls of the stadium that in pre-pandemic times was used to host conferences and VIP receptions. The Stade de France is due to host the final of the French Soccer Cup in May, the final of the domestic rugby competition in June, and a concert by US performer Lady Gaga in July. But these should be unaffected because the pitch and locker rooms are not part of the vaccination center.
The advantage of a facility like the Stade de France is that you have enormous space inside. which allows you to install many vaccination stands while preserving social distancing. This is important. The health measures must be observed in the vaccination centers, and so big halls such as the ones offered in a facility like the Stade de France are useful. And in terms of circulation, we are capable of welcoming a lot of people here without them amassing in a crowd nor having to wait for a long time. So finally, it is very suitable for a vaccination center.
C'était très adapté aussi pour un centre de vaccination.
The stadium will start vaccinating people on April 6th. It is aiming to inoculate around 10,000 a week and will employ 150 staff each day, including students and jobless youth.
Alors l'objectif c'est de vacciner.
The objective is to vaccinate around 10,000 people per week, a little less than 2,000 per day over 6 operating days per week, and there will be around 150 people working on site each day.
Vont travailler ici sur le site.
The 80,000-seat Stade de France was the venue for the final match in the 1998 Soccer World Cup, won by the home team, and it also hosted the final game of 2007 Rugby World Cup, won by South Africa. The opening of the vaccination center at the stadium is part of the drive by French government to accelerate its vaccination program. Around 11% of the French population has been given at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Rolling out the vaccinations has become more urgent in France because the rate of infection is rising, and doctors say intensive care units in parts of the country are at risk of being overwhelmed by COVID-19 patients. Sports Desk.
So that's all in this edition of Sports 360. Before we wrap up, we leave you with the top sporting moments of the week. Namaskar.